Hi everyone, we are Lori and Rick. We travel part of the year in our Jayco Greyhawk motorhome. We enjoy discovering new places. There's more roads to travel on, so let's get started on this adventure. This is the last video in this 6-part series, the Petrified Forest National Park. We're staying in Flagstaff, Arizona, at the KOA as our home base as we travel around to these 6 places. Staying 6 days in this area gave us the opportunity to visit all of these places. I highly recommend that you stop in and check out all of them if you're ever in this area. They're worth it. I recommend that you enter at the Visitor Center, which is the north end of the park. It's across Highway 40. The loop goes clear down to Highway 180. Like a lot of the national parks nowadays, you can actually get online and find an audio tour for the places you're visiting. So in this video, you're going to hear just parts of the audio tour. Our first stop, the Visitor Center, where we're going to get some information and pick up a map.
Welcome to Petrified Forest National Park. Originally set aside to protect late Triassic fossil trees, Petrified Forest remains one of the most unique parks in the country. Located in the surreal landscapes of the Painted Desert region, Petrified Forest is best known for its petrified wood, but also preserves and protects millennia of human history, the endangered native Arizonan grassland, dark night skies, and very active research. Past the entrance station. A half-mile beyond the vast open grassland, you come to the edge of Headquarters Mesa, an abrupt introduction to the Painted Desert. These colorful Badland hills, flat-top mesas, and sculpted buttes of the Painted Desert are primarily made up of the geological layers known as the Chinle Formation. The Chinle Formation is a series of sedimentary rock deposited by late Triassic rivers, lakes, and streams over 200 million years ago. Kachina Point and the Painted Desert Inn, National Historic Landmark. Originally called the Stone Tree House due to the petrified wood used in its construction, the Painted Desert Inn was built by Herbert Lohr with the help of local workers and registered with the Government Land Office as a homestead in 1924.
The Painted Desert Inn is a great place to stop. We may have gotten an ice cream there. They have a great gift shop down below as well. And the views off the back are beautiful. It's a great place for a photo op as well.
From Tawa to Kachina Point. The primary geological layer looking north, known as the Petrified Forest Member, is a white and pink reworked volcaniclastic unit of the Painted Desert. This member is also exposed at the flat tops at the southern end of the park and contains large amounts of petrified wood. The Black Forest Bed, north of Kachina Point, has been dated at 213 million years old, plus or minus 1.7 million years. From Pintado to Naijoni Point. Standing at the edge of a colorful sea of badlands and mesas, a Spanish explorer named the region El Desierto Pintado, the Painted Desert, or so the story goes. Puerco Pueblo. Puerco Pueblo is the most obvious archaeological site in the park. Many other sites have been covered with windblown sand and less. This village had more than 100 rooms, occupied and maintained from the mid-13th century to the end of the 14th century. At that time, the river would have been a reliable source of water for crops. Farming of corn, beans, and squash took place on the floodplains and terraces along the river. The river also made for a natural travel route. Travelers and traders probably frequented Puerco Pueblo, carrying new ideas as well as goods. The trail at Puerco Pueblo winds through the remnants of the village walls and overlooks some petroglyphs, including one that marks the summer solstice. Additionally, there's a small museum that summarizes the history of people who have occupied and utilized petrified forest for over 14,000 years.
This was one of our favorite stops in the park. Walk out the trail and you'll be able to get right up close to where the petroglyphs are on the rocks. They're totally amazing.
Newspaper Rock. The archaeological site, known as Newspaper Rock, is neither a newspaper nor a single rock. The site boasts over 650 petroglyphs, covering a group of rock faces within a small area. This location must have been significant to have such a high concentration of petroglyphs. Generations of people saw these markings and contributed their own. Many of the symbols were created by ancestral Puebloan people living, farming, and hunting along the Puerco River between 650 and 2,000 years ago. There is no linear story, but we can still learn from the markings. Modern tribes, such as Zuni and Hopi, offer interpretations including family or clan symbols, spiritual meanings, and historical or astronomical events. Some mark territory boundaries and migratory routes. Walk to the overlook to discover these messages on stone.
Just like the Pueblos in Wupaki, there are also the same type of symbols here with the spirals.
The teepees. The teepees are made up of the geological layer known as the Blue Mesa member. The banded badlands are very striking as they catch the light of late afternoon. This member consists of thick Triassic river deposits of gray, blue, purple, and green mudstones and minor sandstone beds, the most prominent of which is the Newspaper Rock bed. There are many plant fossils in the teepees area, including conifer leaves, horsetail stems, and pollen. The Blue Mesa member is approximately 220 to 225 million years old. Blue Mesa rises above a purplish plain marked with curving washes, the escarpment banded in blue, purple, and gray. 3 divisions of the geological layer, known as the Suncello member, are visible at Blue Mesa. From bottom to top, they are the bright white sandstone, called the Camp Butte beds, which are found near the base of the mesa, the middle, called Lot's Wife bed, composed of blue, gray, and purple mudstones, and numerous small gray and white sandstones, and the uppermost, the Petrified Forest bed, consisting of white cross-bedded sandstones and conglomerates with water-rounded pebbles and cobbles.
Here's where we walked across the parking lot on the Blue Mesa Road to explore and get a close look at some of the petrified logs laying around. The colors of these ancient logs are quite unique. What is petrified wood? Petrified wood is a fossil. It forms when plant material is buried by sediment and protected from decay due to oxygen and organisms. Then groundwater rich in dissolved solids flows through the sediment, replacing the original plant material with silica, calcite, pyrite, and other inorganic materials such as opal. The result is a fossil of original woody material that often exhibits preserved details of the bark, wood, and the cellular structure. Some specimens of petrified wood are so well preserved that people do not realize they are fossils until they pick them up and are shocked by their weight. These specimens with nearly perfect preservation are unusual. However, specimens that exhibit clear, recognizable bark and woody structures are very common. Some 40 minerals have been identified in petrified wood. The process takes many years to turn logs into stones, or as we know them as petrified wood. Here's Rick pointing at a section in this rock with a petrified log inside.
Agate Bridge. Agate Bridge has always been one of the most popular stops in the park. In the early days, the over 100-foot-long log graced postcards, posters, books, and was even touted as a wonder called Natural Bridge. No doubt there are many old vacation photos of people standing on the bridge, which is now off limits. One legend is that a cowboy was bet that he couldn't cross the bridge on his horse. The cowboy supposedly won. The partially exposed petrified log spans a gully that features a small waterfall during a heavy rain. Funded by the railroad, masonry buttresses were built beneath the suspended log around 1903. Concrete pillars followed in 1911, finally to be replaced by the existing beam in 1917. After over 100 years of choosing to leave the support system as it was built in 1917, the beam is seen as an artifact that illustrates the changing philosophy of the National Park Service.
The Agate Bridge contact station is now a restroom, but it once was a sun shelter with a breezeway for picnicking and enjoying the view. It was built in 1930s in the look of a pueblo. Definitely take a walk out on the trail and gaze over the valley below.
Jasper Forest. In the 1890s and early 1900s, this area was called First Forest, as it was the first stop for tourists from the closest community and train depot in Adamana. Today, Jasper Forest is a spectacular landscape with high concentrations of petrified wood still eroding from the surrounding formation. Hikers can follow the faint remnants of an old 1930s road built by the Civilian Conservation Corps that once led to the popular formation known as Eagle's Nest Rock. Unfortunately, on a particularly wet winter night in January of 1941, the delicate base of Eagle Nest Rock finally became too fragile to uphold the hoodoo and crashed to the valley floor. Crystal Forest was originally called Second Forest, as it was the second site reached by horse or wagon from Adamana. It is one of the largest accumulations of petrified wood in the park. These logs are weathering out of the geological layer known as the Jasper Forest bed of the Sonsella member and have been dated to around 216 million years. The Rainbow Forest Museum. The museum at Rainbow Forest features fossils and casts representing animals that lived here over 200 million years ago. A mural takes you back in time to the period when the geological layer, known as the Blue Mesa member, was deposited. Some of the fossil animals found within the park include Phytosaurs, Adasaurs, Placarius, Metoposaurs, and Rhysuchians. Given the immense diversity of fossils in the museum, even the most devoted dinosaur fan can likely find new creatures to get excited about.
Walk out behind the museum and you'll find some of the largest, most colorful petrified logs, including the Old Faithful log. So there's a rule inside the park that you're not allowed to pick up any of the petrified logs or rocks that you find. But fortunately, at the end of the road, they have a wonderful gift shop that we stopped in and bought the ones that we would like to take home. Thank you so much for watching this 6-part series. Now remember, there's more roads to travel on, so we'll see you on the next adventure.